Since the rebirth of the Fabian Society in the 1960s, their clandestine efforts to bring the United States, certainly, steadily, slowly to the left, like a turtle, which is their symbol for the slow progress that they make. It's incredible to look back at our nation over the last 100 years, actually 113 years, and actually more like 130 years, 25 years, to see how this society has blossomed, this British arm of the New World Order, the power structure of the British socialists, the Fabians. It's incredible. Now, the Fabian Society is a British socialist society. It's an organization whose purpose is to advance the principles of socialism via gradualist and reformist rather than revolutionary means. It is best known for its initial groundbreaking work beginning in the late 19th century and continuing up to World War I. The society laid many of the foundations of the Labour Party and subsequently affected the policies of states emerging from the decolonization of the British Empire, which again was a ploy, a casting off of the truth, while they gave them their government, the forces, the power forces of the British Empire, the money forces, the banking interests, the mining interests, the controlling factors of the economy were still controlled under the British rule, and still are to this day, especially in India. In fact, the shift is in India and China. The money powers are shifting all their influence there, decimating the middle class here in America, slowly bringing us wider and wider apart. At the time that the Fabians came to power, or I should say came into existence, they joined from the New Life Society, and when that disbanded in 1883, they created the Fabian Society in 1884. These very powerful forces towards socialism. Now, the members that were included were Edward Carpenter and John Davidson, sexologist Havelock Ellis, and the future Fabian secretary Edward R. Peace, whose work I'm getting most of this information from that you're hearing today. They wanted to transform society by setting an example of clean, simplified living for others to follow. Now, does this sound familiar? With, again, being green and then having all of these ideologies of keeping things healthy and clean the environment, and that kind of a thing has come to light again since the 60s, when they reemerged, and the birth of the ecological movement, and the eco-fascists that came into power, that are continuing to draw upon society. People like John P. Holdren wrote a book like Eco-Science about things like this, the Club of Rome, limits to growth, that the resources of the planet are unsustainable, and meanwhile they're figuring out all ways to tax and kill us with food additives and poisons, while they went on record stating that they would like to put things in the food supply and water for sterilization purposes, and that book is certainly. And John P. Holdren is our science czar, appointed by Obama, 2010. So this shift to the left is, hard to miss if you're, have any sense of understanding what our Constitution stands for, and how it's been obliterated, and how God has been obliterated, because God is the key element to our Constitution. Our rights have been given to us by God. So the atheists and all of the people that are against God, or the Satanists, They're all saying God is, you can't keep God in the classroom, no God in the schools, no God here. It's a separation of church and state. Meanwhile, God gave us the rights that the government is supposed to be protecting, that they're taking away on a daily basis. This is the New World Order. So understanding how the foundations of it were that you had these two forces, and the force we're talking about today is the Fabian Society, and then of course you have the fascists on the other side. So the Fabians are on the left and the fascists are on the right, but in essence their ideologies are ultimately totalitarian in nature. Now, because the Fabians considered themselves to be elitists and, the enlightened ones and people that had all the knowledge and certainly knew the best thing for society and how things should be under British rule, as Cecil Rhodes stated, and left his vast fortunes from gold and diamond mines to not any of his family, but to a secret society that was established to fund this continuation of the British Empire to rule the world. And this is what's going on. This is the part of the New World Order. The Fabian Socialists are a big part of it. Now, there's been a regrowth and a rebirth of it, as I mentioned, and even more soon, even lately, there's been obviously much more with the Fabian Socialist president we have in Barack Obama. But I'm not going to jump ahead so fast because there's still a lot of meat here in the beginning to cover. So they want to transform society with having examples of clean, simplified living for others to follow, as I mentioned. Now now we have the green thing, and we have to. Everybody's footprint is so your carbon footprint, and global warming, and carbon tax to the Rothschild Bank, and you get Prince Charles cleaning his back in the bathtub propaganda to say that everyone's got to save water, bathe only once a week. All of these societal controlling aspects are these big psyops to really pre-program or foreshadow future events that will be accepted because, oh yeah, that's right, because you've already in your subconscious mind accepted the fact that, oh, that's right, we have a global warming problem, we have all these other problems, and oh yeah, we do have to worry about our resources. And meanwhile, the resources are being plundered, stolen by the British Empire and most the Anglo-American Empire. And the African people are allowed to starve and die. They build up areas that go into monopolistic control with the governments, these plutocracies that are set up. And slowly America is becoming the same plutocracy. Authoritarian plutocracy, socialist in form, beholden on the bankers who must print money made out of nothing to pay the debts and continue to pay more debts and create more money out of nothing, creating more debts to sustain this Ponzi scheme, which is unsustainable. So the very unsustainable aspects they say about us are carbon footprints and the limits to growth from the Club of Rome and John P. Holdren. The truth is their Ponzi scheme, their financial Ponzi scheme is the limit to the growth, is the true destruction that will be coming to humanity. In the early 1900s, the Fabian Society members advocated the ideal of a scientifically planned society and supported eugenics by way of sterilization. This is credited to the passage of the Half-Caste Act and its subsequent implementation in Australia, where children were systematically and forcibly removed from their parents so that the British colonial regime could protect the Aborigine children from their parents. In an article published in The Guardian on February 14, 2008, following the apology offered by Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd to the stolen generations, Geoffrey Robertson criticized Fabian socialists for providing the intellectual justification for the eugenics policy that led to the stolen generation scandal. such views on socialism, inequality, and eugenics in the early 20th century, Fabian's was not limited to one individual. It was a widely shared view in Fabian society. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is where the Carnegie Foundation founded the eugenics office in Cold Spring Harbor in 1910, and the Rockefeller Foundation. They all were interested in the eugenics and this creating the, perfect human. And certainly the blacks, Hispanics, and the lower classes were to be bred out. And that is the idea of it, to literally breed it out of society. Pretty sick bunch of motherfuckers, don't you think so? In 1900, the Society produced Fabianism and the Empire, the first statement of its views on foreign affairs, drafted by none other than Bernard Shaw, and incorporating the suggestions of 150 Fabian members. It was directed against the liberal individualism of those such as John Morley and Sir William Harcourt. It claimed that the classical liberal political economy was outdated, and that imperialism was the new stage of the international polity. The question was whether Britain would be a center of a world empire, or whether it would lose its colonies and end up just as two islands in the North Atlantic. It expressed support for Britain in the Boer War because small nations such as the Boers were acronyms in the age of empires. In order to hold on to the empire, the British needed to fully exploit the trade opportunities secured by war and maintain British armed forces in a high state of readiness to defend the empire. The creation of a citizen army to replace the professional army. That's frightening, since we have Homeland Security here, and we need a powerful Homeland Force that's just as powerful here at home, a civilian military. They're just as powerful, just as strong. Barack Obama, right? British armed forces in a high state of readiness to defend the empire, the creation of a citizen army to replace the professional army. The Factory Acts would be amended to extend to 21 the age for half employment, so that the 30 hours gained would be used in a combination of physical exercises, technical education, education in civil citizenship, programming in other words, and field training in the use of modern weapons. The Fabians also favored the nationalization of land rent, believing that rents collected by landowners were unearned, an idea which drew heavily from the work of American economist Henry George. Certainly a big part of the New World Order. Thank you for watching Truth Talk News. Much more to come in the future. I'm Howard Nima.